All right, good evening, brothers. I am Brother Alonzo Q. Ford, the Georgia District Chair for Economic Empowerment. We're going to give it about another few minutes for brothers to file in for this power-packed, informational economic empowerment webinar. All right, starting to see the brothers file in. I see we got some Omicron Phi Lambda, some Phi Chi. Yeah. Omicron Mu Lambda. I see you, Brother Brown. Sigma Eta Lambda. Okay, we've got Beta Phi Lambda in the house. All right, more OPL. Looks like OPL and OML are strong in this webinar. So I'm okay. Theta Nu Lambda. Okay. So I'm gonna put a challenge out there for all the brothers from chapters that are not OPL or OML to try and reach out to your chapter brothers and get as much participation as OPL and OML. All right. Well, good evening, brothers. It is the bewitching hour. In military time, we would call this 1906 hours. And I am Brother Alonzo Q. Ford with the Omicron Mu Lambda chapter seated in Cobb County, Georgia. And I have the pleasure of serving as the Georgia District Chair for Economic Development and Empowerment, an initiative that is promised to be an impactful initiative for our fraternity, an impactful initiative for our community, and the vision of Brother District Director James Ford, and he and I and Brother Mike Hudson have had many conversations about how we can help the brothers close the wealth divide, in the state, and then turn around and help our communities close the wealth divide. So this is one of 12 curriculum, one of 12 presentation curriculum for the Economic Empowerment Committee. And the curriculum is one of 4 pillars that we're using to drive closing the wealth divide. So pillar number 1 is the old gold book, so we can all connect with each other and be a resource and do business together. Pillar number 2 is the curriculum, which we're part of today. Pillar number 3 are resources, which would be, loans, equity, small business administration, SBDC, grants, CDFI connections, all the things that are going to help you do it. And then pillar number 4, we're looking for a few good men that are committed to doubling their net worth in the next 3 to 4 years by being a part of a mastermind and doing deal making, starting businesses, growing businesses, doing real estate deals, and acquiring businesses, or either helping each other grow what you already have. So with that on the foundation, the first step is going to start with understanding where you are. So understanding where you are begins with knowing you ever go to the zoo or the Disney World or something like that, and you're in the park, you got to know where you are to know where you're trying to get to. And so we're talking about where we are financially, which our starting point is our net worth. And Mr. Jotham Rubel is our distinguished speaker for tonight, esteemed financial advisor, and we welcome him. We welcome you, Jotham, for this presentation on financial literacy, financial freedom, and building net worth. So thank you for joining, and I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Good evening, guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this. Let me just start by saying who I am. Firstly, if you hear an accent and you can't understand, just don't be afraid to point it out. Hey, I didn't understand that part where you just said. I'm originally from Antigua, the Caribbean. My dad is Spanish. My mom is from Antigua. Don't ask me how it happened. Boy, I grew up in Antigua, Puerto Rico, and Santo Domingo. We all speak English in the house, so I don't speak Spanish. I understand it better than I speak it, but then we all were taught to have great conversations at the table. So with that, I went on to study in England. The country I'm from is actually from England. It's England based country, Antigua. So we got partial independence. So England gave us free education, and I took advantage of it. So I hold MBA. I had a lot of free time. So high school, I started at 10 years old. I just short challenge out to my son. He just completed high school at 17 with an associate's degree. So kudos to him. He beat me. I finished high school at 16, started college at 16, completed college at 19. So I'm showing that challenge to him also to complete college by 19, turning his 20th birthday, right? So with that, that's a little bit about me. Also, I built radio stations. Yes, I'm an engineer also. So I had enough time to get that second degree. So I built 9 radio stations. And with that, that's where I met my beautiful wife. 2008, we came across Primerica. We were living in Florida, just about to purchase a second home in Florida. And a young lady stopped us and she said, "Do you know your PIN number?" Being that I'm from the Caribbean, I associated fin with sharks and fishes. Fin means financial independence number. I'll get into that a little bit later. So she invited herself over to show us what that fin means. And with that, she showed us what we were doing right from wrong. We had life insurance. We had that type that with investment in it. She showed us right from wrong. We said, okay, if this is how it works, I personally said to her, give me 2 of them. I need 2 to prove to me that it works. And from since then, 2008, as you know, the market went south. I handed in my resignation letter in 2010 when iHeartRadio bought out Clear Channel, sold my contract, and my wife has not worked for anyone since then. We then started Primerica, and from there on, we have been just about 18 years in Primerica. Fully licensed in 8 states. We have agents in all those 8 states, and we are growing, right? So that's a little bit about me, and now let's get into this presentation. So tonight we're going to talking about building wealth, building wealth. But start go back here, share my screen, share screen and share. Okay, boom, and I go F5. So firstly, I want to talk about this start. Boom. So can everybody see my screen? Can everybody see my screen? Yes. So with that, let's talk about this. Primerica did a HBI. It's called Household Budget Index. Yeah, we all know what's happening currently, which is the inflation that is driving everybody's pocket today. So Primerica has more agents on the floor than anybody else, any other financial institution you could possibly think about. We're just knocking at about 130,000 agents, right? So with that, we have been gathering information for years upon years. So we came up with this economic index, and also Congress is using it. Dave Ramsey, Clark Howard, all the financial big guys are using this to monitor the economy, right? So with that, it simply says this. It's a monthly economic index that tracks the economy health in middle income families. And that's what we represent, right? So the index offers the first of its kind snapshot into the ability for our clients to afford basic household necessities. So I'm going to show you how that works, right? So the basic necessity is simple as this. The baseline is your income. So let's say you're making $5,000 a month. That's your baseline at 100% of your income. So if you are below that 100% mark, that means you have extra money in your pocket. So that means you have more money than the month, right? More money than the month. So as of 2019, January 2019, we actually hit the baseline. And we went over that baseline to the highest point in November 2020, which is 105%. So that means you have more month than you have money. So the paycheck is done at the end of the week, and you're like, man, I still got 3 more days left. Man. So as we look at this index, we saw that June of 2022, it went back down. But then as December 23, it's back up, right? So we are monitoring this to see where people pockets are, our families' pockets are in the economy, right? So next we're going to talk about this, how money works. How money works. The first step is to take control. As Brother Ford said, if you're in the park and you want to go on a ride, and you're not looking at the map to know where you are in the park to get to that point. Let's say you want to ride that ride Godzilla, you want to get to that ride Godzilla, you have to know where you are in the park, and you have to look at a map to say, hey, I want to get to this point, right? So if you don't have that, you will never get to that ride. For instance, I have a home in Florida. If I was to invite all you guys to that home because we're throwing a pool party, and I didn't give you guys the address, how much of you guys would show up at that party tomorrow? No one. And that's what the thing with finance. You have to know where you're going. So pay yourself first. That's the first thing we have to do, is to pay ourselves first. And then secondly, pay off debts, right? Pay off debts. Then we're going to talk about the power of home ownership, right? So with that, the concept of home ownership has been diminishing because of a lot of people thinking, hey, it's the interest rate is too high, so I can't buy. No, the interest rate is right. There's never going to be a time like today to start. Because if I look back, as you look back from today, the only point in history where the cost of home went down was 2009, the only point in history. Will that happen again? Who knows? But at the end of the day, it always goes up. And I'll show you what I mean, right? And then he says the rule of 72. What does that rule of 72 means for me and my family? What does it mean to you and your family, right? Find the right type of life insurance, defer taxes, become the owner and not the loaner. The Bible states that if you are the borrower, you are the slave to the lender, right? And lastly, we're going to talk about invest with professional management. See, most people today in the industry, they deal with suitability. I want you to take these two words down, suitability and fiduciary, right? Suitability simply states that the agent is only going to do what's suitable. Yes, what's suitable. Fiduciary simply says That agent have to do what's right by you according to the law, right? So suitability, I could write you anything. I could put you in anything because it's suitable. But fiduciary, I can't do that because if it's not right for you, I could lose my license, get fined, and end up behind bars. And then trust me, it's a different story back there, right? So let's talk about this for a quick second. I believe, and we believe here, is that the financial education should be free. So ask yourself these simple questions as we go through this presentation. How can I save for the future when I have so much debt? Because debt is like a cancer today and is taking, man, it is the worst four-letter word in the vocabulary today. If I die prematurely, what becomes of my family? What does assets protection mean to me and my family, mean to you and your family, right? How much money is enough to retire? What if I got started too late? What is net worth? As Brother Ford said, starting is net worth. What is that? And what does it mean? And how do you calculate it? Can I ever truly be financially secure? Right? Are we going to answer these questions starting today? So the problem with money is that it doesn't come with an instruction manual. So everything else in life has an instructional manual except the paycheck. For instance, if you, it doesn't matter what you buy, you just buy a cell phone, it has a manual how to use it. But a paycheck doesn't have a manual to say this is how you spend the paycheck, because in everyday school, they didn't go into depth or into detail of how to itemize that paycheck when you get it. It's simple that you just get a paycheck and you spend based on your needs and your wants, and you go from there, right? So here's why so much is having financial challenges today, right? It's simple. Most people do not start with this, have a financial education. Because everybody didn't go to school together to study finance. In fact, when I went off to school, my first thing was I don't want to be in an office all day, because after I got my MBA, I'm like, I don't want to be in an office all day. Can I do something else? So then I moved on to engineering, right? But then I realized that money, if you want money, you have to be in the money industry. If you love cars, you be in the car industry. And trust me, right? So I had to make that switch back over to money. Most people don't have a financial game plan, right? And thirdly, the most important is have a financial professional helping them with their money, a financial coach, right? So for instance, I have daughters that are in gymnastics. Son that is also, he does karate. But here's the thing. There are 4 apparatus in gymnastics: the floor, the beam, the bars, and the double bar thingy, right? So here's the crazy part. They have a coach for every one of them: the floor coach, the bar coach, the beam coach. So with that, why not a coach for your money to get you from where you are to where you want to be? And even if that you say, hey, I'm at this level, I want to go to a higher level, collaborate. Say, hey, this is what everything that you go through in life doesn't have to be from your personal experience, right? So this results in serious challenges for Main Street family. So here's the problem today: investments. 60% of Americans have less than $50,000 toward retirement, with 36% having only $10,000 put away, right? More than 60% of Americans say they worry more about running out of money in retirement than death. You know, there's an old saying, because my father was a pastor, right? There's an old saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. But in today's world, they're more worried about running out of money than dying. Ain't that crazy? So protection. Nearly half, 48% of Americans have no life insurance covered at all. More than 4 in 10 adults in the US report not having life insurance coverage or not having the right coverage. And you're wondering why we're talking about life insurance. But here's the thing, life insurance is the first step in creating wealth. Let me say that again. Life insurance is the first step in creating wealth, right? And I'll get into a little bit more about how that is the first step. Second step is paying your debts off, getting rid of debts. The average American has over $101,000 in consumer debts. That's including credit cards, personal loans, auto and mortgage loans, right? And here's the crazy part, student debt. As I tell my son just graduated, he graduated back in December, but he walked the stage about a week ago. We were going back, we were on the way to the Gas South Arena, and we were listening to Clark Howard that morning, and it is 55% of people over 50 years old have more than $70,000 in student debt. And I'm saying, son, this is why I'm telling you to go fill out those scholarship forms. That when you're 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, you're not having these conversations with your friends. Money you owe on your student loan. Not to brag, but at the end of the day, myself and my wife have 0 student loans, right? She went to FAMU, I went to Cambridge, England, and it wasn't cheap, right? But at the end of the day, we have 0 student loans, right? Income. 57% of Americans have difficulty finding $1,000 for emergency. The majority, 6% of Americans live in paycheck to paycheck. And this survey was done December in 2023. We're not far from that. So these are some serious problems challenging America today. So let's look at the financial house. The first thing in the house you protect is the income. You say, how do you protect the income, Joe? With life insurance. Because when one passes away, it's not just that person passing away, it's the income that they were bringing into the house also. And to protect that income, we put a will in place to protect that income. I can talk about numerous of clients who passed away not having a will. Like, in fact, 4 years ago, a young lady she was in my business, she passed away not having a will. Still today, the family has not received that life insurance because the estate now takes over, right? So emergency fund, we're going to talk about that. A budget, setting a budget up. So here's the thing. You know what's coming in, you know what's going out, and you could plan properly that map to get you from the gate of that park, that gate of from Georgia to the party down in Florida, right? Pay your debts off. That's the third step. Then we're going to talk about retirement, because here's the crazy thing. We're not talking about retirement unless we talk about paying your debts off. Then we talk about college savings if you have young ones, and then the other goals and dreams we put the roof on. But here's the thing now. We are having discussion. This was just in March 16th. And Robert Kiyosaki said this. Who's right? My friend Dave Ramsey says, live debt-free. I say, use debt to invest. I am $1.2 billion in debt. Again, who is right? And that's the question I throw out, because at the end of the day, they're both right. So here's the thing. My answer is, for most people with low financial acumen, Dave's advice is the smartest advice for you. For the financially educated and experienced, and that's what Ford was talking about. The latter of these forums is going to get you there to that point. It's for that advice may be better for you, right? So with that, we're going to talk about the same concepts of the Dave Ramsey now, right? So here's the thing. There's a common misunderstanding that the average and ordinary people can't become financially independent. That couldn't be further from the truth, right? So let's talk about it. So let me ask a question. How much people in here tonight woke up this morning and say, self, I'm going to fail today? Did anybody start the day like that? I can assure you not, right? Because people don't plan to fail, it's fail to put a plan in place, right? So with that, and this is the problem, traditional financial institutions, they sell products. They don't provide a total solution. So you're in the middle, your mortgage company don't even care if you have a 401k, they don't care. At the end of the month, or if it's the first and the 15th, they want their piece of that check. Your credit cards don't really care if you have life insurance. They don't care. First and 15th, just send me what's mine, right? So this is what's needed, that financial needs analysis. Every financial institution can do it. It's customized, it's confidential, and it's a complementary program that we do that help families achieve their goals and dreams, right? So this is the area that it helps in areas of savings, debt elimination, income protection, income management, right? So with that, let's talk about this magic number, because when I saw this number 18 years ago, it blew PIN number, financial independence number, that young lady, that's how she introduced herself to me. It simply says, the amount of money you need to save that you would need to retire and or be able to stop working. So if you want to retire in 30 years from today with $30,000 a year, in 30 years from now, at the 3% inflation, that 30,000 will spend like $73,000. So to get to that point, you need $1,080,000 saved in an account. And to get to that point, if you invest $585 per month for 30 years at a hypothetical 9%, you will have $1,000,080 saved, right? So how important is it to know your financial independence number? And this is something I update on a constant because it changes as my family was growing, right? So let's go here. No, I don't want to open that. 1 second, this is blocking me. Sorry, wrong one, that one. So taking the myth out of becoming debt-free, right? So everything that you hear about, you need debt to have a good life. Everything is now dependent on that magic number, which is your social security number, right? The FICO score. Of all the threats to financial security, none is more dangerous than debt. I would say debt is like a cancer, right? So it's the first time we have student debt that is now surpassing mortgage, right? So is your debt so high you can't save, right? So do you use credit cards to pay your bills? You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And it's so funny, a brother the other night threw a different one at me. You know, you're robbing Peter and Paul to make the ends meet, right? Carrying a revolving balance each month, right? They occasionally or frequently miss a payment. In the stats, we have more people missing payments today than ever before, right? You feel like you'll never get out of debt. So I'll get into a little bit more. Becoming debt-free is possible. Debt freedom is possible. So here's a few things that we can do to get debt-free, right? Save money on interest costs by paying cash. Cash will always be king. Regain control of the family budget. Reining spending on wants versus needs. Have more money to save. Compound interest works for you and against you, right? The debt cycle. Spending your spending your income. Some people make $5,000 a month, but they're spending $7,000 a month. And you're like, how is it possible? But when we look at clients and we say, hey, this is what we do a budget with them. We sit with clients and say, let's do a budget. Let me see what you're spending on. And we help them to rearrange what they're spending so they could get to where they want to get to in life. The cash part of it simply says, you control your finances. You become debt-free, paying with cash instead of borrowing. Again, borrowing, the slave to the lender. Investments, saving, and other assets, right? So easy ways to avoid debt. Eliminate that shopping as a hobby. Take the amount of items cost and divide it by what you make an hour. And if it costs $50, then you make $10 an hour. Ask yourself whether the item is really worth 5 hours of work. That's powerful, right? Keep track of your spending. I think everybody should have a budget. Everybody should have a budget, right? So this is a concept that Dave Ramsey used as what he calls debt snowballing. A little history about Dave Ramsey. If you pull up his license, his insurance license, you'll see he started right here at Primerica. And then he branched out and did his own thing, right? So this is a concept of it. And A, plan B. The person here is paying $2,720, $2,720 per month. And A, they have retail card, credit card 2, car loan, credit card 1, mortgage. And we went in and we showed them how. This is how you could use debt stacking and get out of debt. So debt stacking is simple. If you're paying $220 in card 1, retail card 1, when you finish paying it off, you're paying minimum balance and everything else, minimum balance and everything else. When card 1 is done, you take the not because you have $220, you're going to go buy that Jordans. Not because you have that extra $220, you're going to start spending it. No, you take that $220, you add it to the $353. Now you have $573 paying to that credit card too. When that is done paying off, you take that $573 and then you add it to $551, a car loan. Now you're paying $1,100.24 on that car loan. So you keep doing that until you get to your mortgage. When your mortgage is done paying off, and this is the thing, we're not asking you to increase how much you're spending. We're not asking you to increase how much you're spending. It's just how you pay your debts off will get you debt-free. And this is the thing, debt paid off in 23 years, so that we're just assuming they're 35. At 58, they paid $214,000 in interest, and with debt stacking or debt snowballing, whichever concept you want to call it, paid off in 9 years. At age 44, 14 years sooner, they'll save over $130,000. And this is what we say to do. Not because you have $2,000 extra in your pocket. If you invest that $2,700 each month for 9%, at age 67, you'll have $2.4 million in retirement. Now, that's something we can get excited about, right? So here's a question. If you had a toaster in your kitchen every 1st and 15th, $2,000 popped out of that toaster. Would you love a toaster like that? Every 1st and 15th, $2,000. So that means by the end of the month, that's $4,000. When I saw this, I said, give me 2. And the young lady said, you insure it? I said, yeah, right? I was like, yeah, give me 2. Here's the thing. Unfortunately, there's no such toaster. You're the money machine to your family. So if it makes sense to insure an imaginary toaster, wouldn't it make sense to insure your income? Remember what I said, your income is the first step to creating generational wealth. If you take that income away, then life insurance then becomes the first step to creating generational wealth, right? So here's how it works. Every day we see those billboards, 285, and they report not only traffic, but how many people pass away on these highways. right? So with that, we have a lovely couple. They have a young one. One day I'm going to change this to reflect differently. Husband goes out, doesn't make it home. Or partner goes out, doesn't make it home. So with that, do you think that she can afford on $3,500? And this is a $7,000 household. That $7,000 covers the mortgage, the cars, the insurance, the credit cards, the utilities, the groceries. I mean, childcare is the biggest one of them. That takes up the most chunk of it, right? Can 35 support the 7,000? Because I know little Johnny's going to go to see that big arch, the golden arches, and say, "Mommy, can I get McDonald's?" And mommy's not going to say, "Yes, I'll give you half of a Happy Meal." I know Georgia Power is not going to call you and say, "Yeah, I'm sorry for the loss of your loved one, but you only could pay half the light bill." Your mortgage company's not going to say, "Okay, you could send me half of the mortgage." No, we're going to put you out if you don't pay the mortgage, right? So with that, what happens if you replace the income? Is this life insurance now replaces that income? So now she like bereavement period in work is only 3 days. I can guarantee you, yes, my wife doesn't really work for anyone, but at the end of the day, it will take me longer than 3 days if something was to happen to her, that I won't have to go back to work, right? So with that, we can't replace the person, but we can replace the income. The theory of decreasing responsibility says this: in the early years, you may need a lots of coverage. Think of it as this: you're renting wealth until you get the chance to accumulate it. So in the early years, you may not have a lot of money. So while money is growing, need for life insurance goes down. And a lot of people say, why is that? Here's why. Today, the children are young, the debts are there, the mortgage is there to be paid, so a loss of income could be devastating. But in retirement, the children are grown, the debts are lowered, the mortgage is paid, so retirement income is needed. Let me break it down for you. Personally, I'll break it down for you. When I bought my policy, it was a 35-year policy. The youngest, well, wasn't born, so now she's 9. I still got just about 29 years left on that policy when I just renewed that policy. I have 29 more years left. So if she if she grows up and we outlive that policy, she'll be 29, she'll be on her own. If something happens to me today, God forbid that I don't make it out or make it to tomorrow, then I can guarantee you here, as I say, she wouldn't have to worry about money for the rest of her life, right? So with that, this is what happens. We protect you from dying too soon and also living too long. Because in the later years, you better have money, because you can't take the life insurance policy to Georgia Power and say, "Hey, Georgia Power, I have my policy here. Can I pay my can I use this to pay my bill?" They will laugh at you first and say, "Well, somebody have to die before you can use that, and it's more likely, if that's your policy, you got to die first. Somebody will use it for you." So with that, let's talk about this for a second. The second part of that, which is investing. Albert Einstein said, the most powerful force in this universe is compound interest. So with that, the compound interest shows how you can really put money to work and watch it grow. When you earn interest in savings, that interest then earns interest on itself, and this amount is compounded monthly, right? The higher the interest, the more money grows. So we also teach people this: to become the owner and not the loaner. In fact, when we first relocated to this country, I had some You know, we came to US. I went to Boston first, because my wife is from Boston, and then I couldn't deal with the weather. So we went to Florida. So I went to the bank to do some investments, and I'm not sure how much of us can relate, was just about $15,000. And the agent there said, they're not what I'm looking for, so I could stick my money in a CD. I didn't have enough, so I could put my money in a CD. So I put it in a CD, right? And we're going to talk about how much I earned in a minute. So become the owner, not the owner. So we teach people this. And this is something that we have learned from childhood. Go out, get a good job. No, so let's rewind a bit. Go to school, get good grades. That one day you could get a good job with benefits. And one day you go out and get a job. And when you get your paycheck, you take it into a bank. So you could, save it. But then how is that working today? Because banks usually pay the lowest interest rate on any form of deposits, right? So then the three accounts that we're going to talk about that you need to have is this. One, an emergency fund. We recommend just about starting off, if we just started with you, $1,000 a month. No, $1,000 in that account, $1,000 in that account. The second account, the short-term saving, we recommend you, if you look at your income, your monthly income, you put in 3 to 5 times your monthly income. So that's just in case. That's just in case. Let's say the market turns, you have enough income set aside, enough money set aside that you could transition a few months without having that pressure, that stress level go through the roof, right? And then thirdly, long-term savings or investment. So let's talk about this rule right here. It's called the rule of 72, sometimes called the banker's rule. So you remember when I took that 15 grand to the bank, and the bank said, we're going to stick it into a CD. It was earning 3%. No, sorry, 1%, 1%. And the CD back in 2004 was earning 1%, right? So it simply says this, rule of 72 says this. If you divide your interest rate into 72, it will tell you the number of years your money will take to double. So the 1% goes into 72. That means 72 years that money will take to double. So as I look at the interest rate today, and the Bank of America is doing 0.02. Capital One Bank is doing 0.01. So that means at 0.01 times 72, that's 7,200 years your money will take to double. So let's talk about this. 3%. 3% into 72 now goes 24 years. So every 24 years, that $10,000 will double to double, right? So in 24 years, you have 20,000, 48 years, you have $40,000. It's like, man, that's okay, but I could do better. So what if I double interest rate? What if I double the interest rate? And then 6 into 72, no, goes 12. So now every 12 years, that $10,000 is doubling. But let's go to this. In 48 years, you have $160,000. I want to do this. I want to do this. Now, somebody put into the chat, when we double 12%, how much money do you think we'll have 48 years? Put it into the chat. How much we'll have in 48 years? Right? So 12 into 72 now goes 6. The money is compounding upon itself. So in 48 years, you have 2.5 million. 2.5 million. When I saw this presentation 18 years ago, I said to the young lady, if this is how I become wealthy, give me 2 of them. Even if it's half true, I'm in. right? So here's the thing. How do you win a game if you don't know the rules to the game? Question is, who would benefit from learning this rule? And shouldn't we have learned this rule in school? Because I can guarantee you the rule of 72. Just type it in Google, the rule of 72. It's in every library across the world today. Every library across the world. When we were doing, when I was doing my master's, yes, they spoke about it, but it didn't go in depth of how it worked, right? So with that, without introducing us to friends and family, then how would they learn about the rule? So let's talk about the high cost of waiting. We talk about how money grows. So when you don't prioritize saving, the high cost of waiting is simple. You're putting away $200 a month at a 9% for 40 years, 25 to 65. Now let's look at this, how this works. $200 a month. You started at 25. That's $943,000. Now you say, I will wait 1 year. 1 year. I got time, Joe. I got time. I'll wait 1 year. So that's $2,400. You just missed out on $83,000. But you say, you know what, Joe? That's okay. That's okay, Joe. I could wait. I could wait till I'm 30. I got too many things happening right now. I could wait. So that's $12,000 you held back at start at age 30. You just missed out on $350,000. Now, let's talk about this one. Yeah, Joe, it's I got so many things happening. I can't see myself saving $200. Times is too hard. As you look around, I'm working 2 jobs, and I got a third part-time, and I still can't see my way. So I'm going to start in another 15 years. I'm going to start $36,000 held back. Remember, we're only putting away $200 a month. At age 40, you just missed out on $717,000. Right? So with that, who are people hurting if they wait? Right? Who are people hurting? So let's talk about investing. Investing simply says this. I love mutual funds. So what is an effective long-term investment vehicle? This is what I love, because this is the thing. When I first heard about mutual funds, again, is from the same young lady. My thought was mutual fund, as in FUN. I left the D out, and I looked at my wife and said, "Huh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this one. I just met you, right?" So I left the D off. But forgive me. But this is how it works. A lot of us, Black, Latino, again, I'm also Latino, think about investment. It works like this. You put your money into an investment vehicle. It goes up into the cloud, into the cloud space, some lightning happening and some thunder, and poof, money's gone. So guess what? Our parents said, "Hey, no, don't do that." And we follow what our parents and friends tell us to do. No, don't do that. So investors do this. Individual investors, just like myself and you, we have professional money managers. Some of them has been with, for instance, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, and Invesco is right here in Atlanta, right? And Franklin Templeton is up on the top side of Perimeter, and they have some, these guys have 30 years into the industry. So this is how it works. Group of us put our monies together. If you look at the market right now, for instance, in the video card maker, NVIDIA, started a few days, is now at 155% up in the market. If stock is
and for anybody that doesn't know NVIDIA, they make AI, or they basically work in the AI space. And there's just so much. And Brother Jotham, I mean, this is golden nuggets. It's so dense and power packed. I just wanted to jump in real quick, because I want the brothers to know that the net worth calculation is coming, but I think the path that we're going through is to show you how you can get there through savings and everything else. So I'll just ask a quick question um, with regards to the bank, because I know you were talking about the money being in the bank getting a very, very low rate. I think some people are saying, hey, you don't know if the stock market is going to lose money, but my money is safe in the bank. How do you decide, you know, whether to say, okay, you know what, my money is FDIC insured in the bank versus the stock market?
Okay, great. So that's a great question. So it always depends on how old that person is. So for instance, I'm only like 40, I'm what, 40, 44, no, 45, I'm 45. So because I have more years left, I have more years left than to get to retirement. I don't use the banks. The only thing I use the banks for is for paying bills. After I learned what I learned, I only use the banks for paying bills. So to answer that question, that first account, that emergency account where you have $1,000 set aside, that's the only reason that you use a bank to pay a bill. And just for emergency, the car tire blows out, you don't have you can swipe a card and get that money right away. That's the only reason I use a bank. The water heater breaks, I need that money to repair it. It's right, because banks don't give you that high return. So then I don't use banks other than for the accessibility of it,
Okay,
right?
that makes
The
sense. Thank you.
investment side of it, with that short term account, we use bonds and a few other investment that money markets. We use money markets that we can also request that money and get it in a short space of time, and usually a day, because everything is electronic today. And based on the it's called Regulation CC, which is a federal law that these financial institutions have to give you your money within a certain time frame, and it's usually 24 hours, right? So if you request your money from a financial institution, either they mail a check that same night, FedEx it to you, because it has to be turned over within 24 hours, right? So they can't hold on any money. Only we'll get into that with insurance company, no, can hold on any money longer, but banks cannot, right? So does that answer your question?
It sure does. Thank you. And I just wanted to let the brothers know that, I mean, we have a financial expert here. So please ask your questions. If you have questions, now's a good time to drop some in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll be sure to address them tonight before we finish. But please, Mr. Joe, please continue.
Sure, definitely. So here's the thing: mutual funds. So this is how I talk to my clients about investing. When you go to your favorite store, like the Walmarts, the Krogers, the Publix, you go to Nike, you go to your bank. It doesn't matter where you have your loyal to brand to your loyal brand to. It is, think of it like this. For instance, Procter and Gamble company, they make, you know, Febreze, they make Crest, they make Downy. So picture this like this. Every time you go and buy a Crest and you brush your teeth, or you buy the shaver, you're spending money in Walmart. You sit back and you Netflix and chill. You create your portfolio with everything that you do on a daily basis. So when every dollar you spend and that company makes money, you make money. So I create my portfolio based on that. I love when I go out on the street, Walmart. I love Walmart. There's something about Walmart, the people in Walmart that just excites me. I love going to Walmart, right? Microsoft, I used to, I did contract work with them. So I'm invested into Microsoft and yeah, you name it. The telecommunication, I'm an AT&T person. A lot of you might be Verizon and all them good stuff. But this is a concept I'm putting to you guys. The thing that you spend on an everyday basis, you put it into a portfolio so that when you go to that establishment to spend your hard-earned money and they make money, they're going to pay you a dividend. So that means you're going to make money, right? So the concept now is,
Before you go, I wanted to find out if this is a good place to insert a question for Q&A or after
sure,
you make
go
the
ahead,
point on this slide.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the questions we got was, how do you feel about high yield savings accounts to park your money?
High yield savings account, okay? So that's a high yield savings account is more of a that will then fall onto the category of, I have that right here. I could pull that up also. So yes, if you're young, great. It's a great way to do it. Because at the end of the day, you have time to recover if the market does a 2009 again. You have time to recover. The high yield market is a market that will always give you back your money. Will always give you back your money. For instance, let me give you a fact. This is a fact that a lot of people don't even know. Midterms, election cycle, midterms, the year after the midterms, so the midterm is in November, November to November, after every midterm for the last, let's call it 50 years, midterm to midterm, that's November to November, after the midterm election, has always yielded 10% or more. Let me say that again. And you guys could research it to just say, hey, Joe's not just throwing something out there. You could research it from midterm election. So that's the 2 years after the general election, November to November has always yielded 10% or more from the American market, right? So here's another thing. We're going to look at investment, right? How do you think who earned more? Investor A or investor B? I usually use this as I can't draw on the screen currently, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I call this dollar cow. We're buying cows, averaging. So the both start at the same price, $10. And as you can see, investor A went with the rising market. Investor B is with the fluctuating market. So who would you rather be, A or B? Put in the chat which investor would fare better, A or B? A, okay, okay. I see. But say A. So let's do this. Okay, awesome. He said definitely A. All right, everybody's going A. So let's go to the second slide. Dollar cost averaging, a proven fundamental, right? So here's the thing. Investor A started, we're only spending $100 a month. A, he got 10 shares. And month 2, he got 8.3. 3, you see the cost of shares is going up. He's in the rising market. So by month 6, he only could get 5 shares with that $100. Investor B was on the fluctuating market. So with that, month 2, the shares went $7. He got 14 shares. So at month 3, they went to 4. Month 4, they went to $2. So he got 50 shares. So at the end of the day, he had 126 shares when A only had 42 shares. But if you did the math, his average cost per share is $4. He accumulated 125 shares, while the average cost per share and A was $14, you accumulated 42 shares. Now let's do the math. The cost per share, you total them out. Who you think has more money? A or B? There you go. There you go. So at the end of the day, when do we go to the store to buy to shop? When do you most likely go to the store? When I say there's a store, go to the mall to shop. When do we likely go to the mall to shop? That big event that we go to mall to shop. When is a sale, correct? Like for instance, 2008, 9, the holidays on sale. So that's when we go to the malls to shop because everything is on sale. The same thing is with the market, right? It's like currently and this is happening here in Atlanta. When the housing market went down, all these corporations came into Atlanta and they're buying homes left, you name it, they're buying homes just because the homes were on sale. That's why the market in Atlanta is like, it's crazy, right? One corporation owns 19,000 homes in Atlanta. Just one corporation, 19,000 homes. It's like, okay, you're buying up all the first time homes, right? So with that, let's talk about this. 30 years from December 2020 to December, sorry, 1990, from December 31st, 1990 to December 2020, 30 years of investing. So the headline says, do not invest with your headlines. Invest with your head, right? The biggest downfall with people today is the fact that they listen to other people, they listen to the news, and they make investment choices, right? Versus listening to somebody, a financial coach, listening to somebody who is into the market on a daily basis. You eat, sleep, breathe money, guess what you're going to end up with? Money, right? So the concept that says money is the root of all evil, I love that phrase because guess what? I love money because I love the things that money does for me and my family. I do love that fact. It's not the love of money, is the things that I could do with it, right? So some of the words that we use is holding us back. Like for instance, a pastor once said to the group, we are having an argument with God about money, and there's only one person who's going to win in that argument. Because when you talk about talents, you remember that story of talents? He says, I'm going to give you talents and I'm going to leave and come back. And one doubled it. One got 3 talents. He gave that person 1 talent and they buried it. And when he came back, the king came back and he said, here, he went and dig up the talent and he gave him back the talent, that 1 talent that he gave him when everybody else was doubling their talents and giving him more talents that they left. He said, oh, you worthless servant. I gave you 1, you buried it, and you gave me back the same thing I gave you. Why not give me more? Right? So with that, another local story that is, man, blew me away is that rapper, what's his name, Gucci Mane. He left his girl what $3 million, everything he had when he went to jail. When he came out of jail, he met her with $9 million. Same thing as the story of the Bible. Mm-hmm. Right? So she tripled it. So with that, let's talk about this. Invest with your head, not the headlines. Because
and Mr. Jotham, if I can just jump in, because I really, that's one of my favorite parables. In fact, you know, one of the things that they say in there is the servant who buried the talent, his got taken away and given to the servant who doubled, you know,
that's
his.
correct.
So
Correct.
I mean, money actually flows from people who don't understand it to people who do.
That's correct. It's in the Bible. The rich will rule over the poor.
And
Because
so, yeah, we're certainly trying to get understanding. And I I have a really powerful question
go
that
ahead.
came in through the chat. Um, and so this we're may be able to help help lives and help people just really look at their financial situation. So let's assume you saved well and you have a strong 401k pre-tax and
Mhm.
you have enough coming in that it continues to grow. You don't really need to live off of it, but you get to be a certain age and you have mandatory withdrawals. And
Mhm.
now when you do withdraw, you're basically in such a tax bracket that you have to pay taxes on what you withdraw, and on top of that, the money is pushing you into a higher tax bracket because you're withdrawing. So how do you how do you manage that type of a situation?
Start a business. So the business, the tax code is based on business. The business simply says, um, you're in business to make money, but you don't have to really be making money. If you don't make any money for a certain number of years, which is between 3 to 5 years, the IRS is going to put you into a category that says you're just a hobby, right? And you could use that hobby to write stuff off. You could go back to school, find a hobby to get a loan in yourself. Go back to school, and you write. So when one, so you could start writing stuff off to minimize the taxes that you are going to pay. Does that make sense?
It does. And I also want to just kind of emphasize that just because you start a business doesn't mean you have to work 40 hours again.
There you go.
You can still try. Part of your business could be traveling around the world, tasting different wines and rating them. I mean, it
There you
could
go.
be anything that you love. If you love golf or you love to fish, you get to write off all of your fishing activity or all of your golfing activity. I mean, of course, and none of us are tax professionals, so you got to talk to your certified tax professional. But I mean, I believe there are a lot of golden ways to mitigate taxes, and I'm actually going through. In fact, I'll just be honest and say that I got to a
So,
point where my screen is blurred, but I had
but I'm not
paying
sure.
a lot of money in taxes makes you think of creative ways and get experts that can really help offset some of your taxes.
Yeah. So one of the things is also when it comes to taxes, that's something that we can do. Um, we can do a whole section in taxes, and we trust me, we have professionals in that area that are also with Primerica, that with me, with my group, that we could talk taxes all day, right? So
I,
when we sit with families, we're not just talking about money, we're talking about strategies to get you from point A to point B. And even when you're in point B, like for instance, when I met Brother Green, I met him at a event that a pastor, one of my clients, he's originally from Kennesaw, but he over the years he has accumulated wealth. We helped him accumulate wealth. Let's call it the Savannah area. He's retired. He retired at 59 and a half, not a day over. He built a beautiful home, beautiful home, and he's into pastoring, and he's using that the ministry to offset some of his taxes, right? So with that, his wife is just about to step into that same arena of retirement, and she has to now look at something that she can do on an everyday basis to offset that. But they're using the ministry, God's ministry, to offset their taxes, right? So there's a lot of things out there that you could do to offset taxes when you get to that point of retirement, right?
Right. And I'm going to ask that we bookmark that because we do talk about tax strategies later on in the curriculum. We're trying to do building blocks. So we do want to be respectful of everybody's time and finish by 8:30 today, or 8:30 tonight. And so we're
Okay.
going to keep pushing, but come back and bring some friends, because we're going to talk about tax strategies. And one more thing I'll say to that is, you know, it's great to have expenses offset taxes, but it's not wise to spend $10 to save $3 if you weren't going to spend that $10 anyway. But if it is something that you were going to spend, you know, you could write it off in a business, then that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So let's look at the American economy. I know a lot of you guys here are Falcons fans, and who is not? Great, great. Let's talk about a football team. Let's talk about whatever team you represent. We're going to talk about it today, right here, right? So 30 years. So let's imagine you played 30 games, and in those 30 games, you only have 5 losses. Would that be a winning team? Would that be a team you would put your last dollar on? Would that be a team you would say, hey, that team got, yeah, I'm going to throw everything in, all my chips in on this team. 30 games, 5 losses. Is that a winning team? Right? So this is reflective of the American economy. People like me and you. Because one day you're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to start something up, and let's see where it goes, right? Then let's see where it goes. Like for and Veer a few years ago started in an IHOP. The same IHOP have a plaque. NVIDIA started here. 3 guys sitting in this booth. Didn't know the direction they were going. Did not know. They put up their houses. They put up some investment. The first video card they came out with failed. They nearly lost everything. And they came out, they revamped everything, and they went again a second time. Now they are multi billionaires, right? In fact, they're like 3% away from passing Apple. Let me say that again. 3% away from passing Apple in terms of market capital, the amount of money they have, right? So with that, 2008, we all knew what happened in 2008. That's when the market tanked, US financial crisis. And here's the thing, the market went down, if you could see it, 37%. 37%. And the news, every news agency was reeling about it. 2009, they were still talking about 2008. Oh, the market is doing so bad. But here, if you look at the screen, it says the market was up 26%. What are you talking about? Oh, everything is so bad. The market is up 26%. Again, 2010, the market is up. But they're still talking about, oh, things are so bad. 2011, they're still talking about how things were bad. The market is up. And the market from then, 2009, went in what we call a bull run. With everything that's happening in the economy. So if you look at top here, it says what? Double-digit unemployment. And the market still did 26%. Right? Let's look at this one. ISIS, an international terrorism. And the market did just over 1%. So if you started with $10,000 in 1990, you would have ended up with over $200,000 in 2020. And this is the thing, guys. $10,000 and not another cent you added to it. It compounds upon itself on a daily basis. That's the beauty about the market. That's I love when people tell me how, America is not so good. I tell people there's no other country in the world like America. There's no other. In fact, America produces the most millionaires than any other country in the world. There's no other country like it. None. We're the greatest country, right? And it's coming from me as an outsider looking in, and then now I'm in. I'm telling you, man. But here's the thing. Let's talk about that home ownership. The power of home ownership, the dream of owning, is as true today as it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But here's the thing. Let's say you purchase a home today, and a lot of people say, oh, interest rate is too high, interest rate is too high. And guess what? There are ways to get around interest rate, right? There are ways to get around it. You could purchase today. If interest rate falls in another 2 to 3 years, you can refinance and get rid of that high interest rate. But this is the thing about a house. This person bought a house for $250,000 with 20% down. That's $50,000 in equity. That means equity simply means that at 250 value of the home, at 50,000, yes, that's equity. That is value that I can take out, put into my pockets. That's value to me, right? So 200,000 on the loan for 30 years. As you pay that mortgage down, but here, watch the equity in this house. A 4% annual home appreciation, 1.5%, right? In the same 30 years, and we have seen this in Atlanta over and over again, market is always going to go up. That's house appreciation. So over 30 years, in this example, over $900,000 in equity, right? So then, let's talk about this for a quick second. One page. Calculating your net worth. This is, oh, if you could take a screenshot of this, or I can send this out to you guys. It simply says, document your assets. Anything that has value, like for instance, your cash accounts, the balances, the checking, savings, the money market, the CDs, that's a financial value. Retirement accounts in terms of the traditional or the Roth IRAs, the company retirement plans like the 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans, the SEP, the solo 401ks if you're a single person business. And here are the health saving balance accounts, the 529s, those are the college savings plans, and any of the college savings plans. Life insurance, the face value. The face value simply means the amount of money if you pass away that your family will get. The current market value of your home. Let's be realistic, the value of your home. So if you look up in the Zillow, you pull the value from Zillow, right? You compare it with what the state is always going to undervalue your home. That's just them. They're going to undervalue your home. And you could always dispute that also. But then pull those values, you compare them, and you say, you could always use the higher value. If you want, you could also get someone to come out to your home and do an assessment, a true valuation of the home. And there you get a true valuation, right? And estimate, basic, the current market value of all the assets, including car, jewelry, artwork. Let's be realistic about the tangible properties, right? And any other asset of financial worth. You're going to put everything together, write them down to you know what you got. Step 2, document all your liabilities. Yes, I put that I have a home. So then you got a balance in the home. If it's a mortgage in the home, if there's not, great. Your home, any other equity line in the home, if you took out money out the home, right? Like an equity line or a line of credit, and if you're in a reverse mortgage, do all that. Student loans, credit cards, car loan, any other debt. You're gonna write them down. So you write down your debts, not the bills, the debt, right? I know some people write down their bills. Like, no, this is not your debt. This is something that occur every month. It's a bill, right? Your debt, right? Let's write down your debts, and then this is what you're gonna do with your debts. We're gonna take the lower number from the higher number. You're going to subtract the lower number from the higher number, and that is going to give you your net worth, right? So calculate and analyze your net worth, and with the total assets and liabilities, you can then calculate your net worth by subtracting the smaller number from the larger number. And armed with this, you can consider the following questions. Is your net worth in the red or just barely positive? If so, you got some work to do. And tomorrow, can discuss monitoring your cash flow and setting a budget. A budget will always help you to see where you are, and that financial needs analysis I tell you about will always direct you in the right direction of where you need to do and what you need to do to correct that net worth, right? Is your net worth exquisitely positive? If so, you're in a great place. But don't let the wealth effect go to your head. Not only has the economy been strong and employment low, but the stock market has been, and they say extended state, but it has been phenomenal. And this is the true fact about it. It doesn't matter who is president. People like myself, you guys who are business owners, who are working for business, who are hardworking guys, you will always, and this I'm optimistic, as you could tell, will always make that business come out on top. And if the business is profitable and the business is publicly traded, and even your local government who works for the local government here, building all these, like for instance, the new Mercedes-Benz, that was a bond sold by Atlanta, right? So these local buildings as going up, the state, the local government will sell these as bonds so that other people may buy them, right? So I'm always positive about where we are going as a country, right? Here's the thing. How does your network compare with what it was at this time last year? And how does your current debt load compare to what it was a year ago? You say, hey, you could always look back and you could do this from your credit score. Well, not your credit score, from your credit bureau. If you look up on the history on credit, look at 2023, it will show you where your debts are, how much you had, and then you go back to 22 and it'll show you that, right? So they monitor that for you. So that's an easy way to know where you were from year over year to make that assessment, right? And does any one financial asset consume a disproportionate share of your net worth? If you have a lot of stock in broad stocks market, bond market, mutual funds, ETFs, that's no cause for concern. But heavy concentrations in residential real estate, employer stock, and other single. But this is the thing. We're talking about the stock market, real estate, and all this thing. It won't stay up. It won't stay down. It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? So, like for instance, you look at GameStop on Friday. Gentleman, what's this called? Roaring Kitty. He had put a bet on GameStop. He started with 300,000 on Friday. 300,000 on Friday, GameStop. Today he's worth 2.5 million. Let's let that sink in for a minute. He started on Friday. 300,000 with a deal that I'm going to bet the fact that it's going to go up, and he put it up publicly, and everybody started buying, so the stock took off. And today he's over $2.5 million richer, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow for you, but that's the beauty and the power of the American economy. That you could start today and tomorrow, you're a millionaire, just like that. But it only comes if you take that first step. Let me see if this really works. If it doesn't work tomorrow, you keep going. Because this is the thing about investing. Will always return. And if you look over a track record, as I show you 30 years track record of the American economy, it has always goes up. If it goes down, it turns around, goes right back up, right? So this is what a network statement looks like. Your checking account, your savings account, your 401k. Remember that $1,000 that you need to have in a savings account just in case it's there. The 401k, you have about $29,000 in the 401k. You just bought a home like 10 years ago. $300,000 in that home. A first car is $25,000 because you just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to reward myself. You went and buy that new car. That second car is a value of $4,500 because it's the car I used to have. Instead of trading it in, I'm going to keep it. It's paid for, so I'm going to keep it. The furniture's in your home, value about $3,000. There's a total assets about $363,000 and $363,200, right? So with that, the liability says the credit card one, $1,900 balance. That's balance. Credit card two, $2,500. Your student loans, $3,500. That's left to pay off. The mortgage is about $200,000 left on the mortgage. So that means if you look at your mortgage from what you bought the home for, you have about $100,000 in equity. The car loan, you have about $15,000. You total up your liabilities, that's $254,400. You minus that number from your total assets, and that now puts your net worth at $108,800, right? So with that, this is you could create this by a simple spreadsheet, putting all your assets in one side, putting all your liabilities in one side, and then dividing the lower number from the higher number. If this comes back negative, you got some work to do, right?
This is powerful because this is like the financial scoreboard that, like, if we go to a football game, we got to look at the scoreboard to know where the score is. This is the scoreboard for our financial life. And what I'm here to commit to is just saying that any brothers interested in doing the mastermind, we're looking at, if your net worth is $108,000, that by the end of the 3 to 4 years that we do this, that you double that. And we have going through this curriculum, we'll teach you how to do it and give you the resources and do some things. That's the operative part. Doing some things that are going to help drive it.
And that is so true. I'm glad you mentioned 4 years. That's same brother that the gentleman, the pastor that I met, Mr. Brother Green True, the pastor introduced me to his brother, and he lives in East Georgia, or by Augusta, but a little bit more south in the country. He lives in a trailer home, right? There's nothing against trailer home. Beautiful, beautiful area. He have land. There's a lake, and not a lake, that's a river in the back in his home. And he's a cop, right? He's a cop. He has a second stream of income, which he cuts grass in the neighborhood, and he has a fanny pack around his waist, and also his gun is on his side. He's a cop. So I did it. He brother recommended me to him. I went and see him, and he doesn't even have a bank account. So when I sat down with him, showed him what I did for his brother, and he was like, "How did you just have him buy a house?" And he didn't buy. He built a house on the lake, and yes, I go and enjoy the lake, but help me get to where he's at. So with that, we talk about how to get there. Did some profile questionnaires, some investment profile questionnaires with him, and he was leaning more to let's call it conservative. And I pointed out to him, you can't be conservative and get to where your brother is at. You have to be on the aggressive side. So he says, Mr. Joe, you do what you have to do to get me to that point, right? So fast forward just 4 years after we met, I said, well, this is what it takes. Did everything for him, showed him how to I had to help him set up a bank account because trust me, he's like, I hate banks. But I can't take money from a client based on the fact that, again, fiduciary, we cannot touch money. So with that, showed him how to set it up, and he's like, no, Joe, I could do that right now. So he went to this fanny pack that he carries with him, 10 grand easy. He got 10 stacks in this fanny pack at all times. He's like, no, I could give you 30,000 right now. I'm like, no, I can't take cash. Because he never understood the fact that you put your money into an investment vehicle that could make that money work for you, right? So fast forward just 4 years after, the brother is looking at just over $275,000 sitting in an account. So when we do that follow-up call, he wanted to retire this year. And because last year was so crazy, the ups and downs, I talked him out of it. I said, you know what, based on how the market is running currently, yes, you're still doing great, but we cannot at this point, I wouldn't recommend you retiring this year, right? So with that, we can't do this year. So with that, he currently is just over 300,000 just from last year to this year. And as we restructure his account, I'm not sure how many people know this, but this is a fact. It's only 7 companies that has been keeping up the American economy. When everybody else is struggling, diving, these 7 companies has been holding up the economy and running. And everybody on this call tonight, I know they know who these companies are because if we pretty much use them every day. Like for instance, Amazon. Everybody, I think, have an Amazon account, but Amazon helps to stabilize the American economy. And then we look at a company like Microsoft. You're like, okay, I've never really heard much about them, but they're there. They're holding up the economy. Apple, these big companies are just, and here all 7, well, except for 1, is in the tech field, the technology field. And they're just holding up the economy. And everybody is saying, oh, we're going to have what's that thing called when we go 2 quarters down? A recession, a depression. And they don't know how to categorize it now because of the fact that all expectations have been beaten over and over and over and over again. So every time they say we're going to crash, everything is going up. So they're not understanding the market. But again, the market is always going to do what the market is going to do, which is grow, right? So this is a way to bring it to an end. So what we have been taught from childhood is this: do well in school, go to college, get a good job, work for a good company, and that will equal our dream life. So the question is, how is that working for most people? Right? So most never ask, if I take your advice, what will my life look like today? All right? So I'm going to pass it back over to brother
All right.
Brother Ford.
Yes, I'm here. So brothers, thank you. And we if we were in person, I would just say, hey, just give it up for Mr. Jotham Rubel. I mean, this has, been golden nuggets that we truly appreciate. And Mr. Rubel, if you don't mind, if you could drop your any contact information in case brothers want to follow up and have a conversation with you, um, a follow-up conversation just to
Sure.
explore more about, some of your services. We want to give you that opportunity. But we really are thrilled at what we were able to share today. Um, I don't know if there are any other questions. If there are any burning questions, please, raise your hand or drop it in the chat. I will go ahead, and there was one other question that we didn't get to cover. Is it better to use high yield savings account for your emergency fund or a regular bank?
I'll always go to high yield savings.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. So that is,
So
we
look,
appreciate.
let's rewind a quick second. Let's rewind a quick second. So let's say that same question. Emergency fund savings. Let's say, for instance, you have about $3,000 sitting in the bank. Let's say let's just do a hypothetical right now. You got about $3,000 sitting in the bank as an emergency fund. Then a high yield savings outside of that will always be you always yield more than the bank, because currently the bank is running just about. I mean, bonds are up. The best that I've seen currently with credit unions right now is about 3%. That's the best I see on an account is credit union, but is about 3%. So yes, if you go with a credit union at a 3%, great. But some credit unions require this to get that 3%. You have to be contributing on a monthly basis to get that 3%, right? If you're not contributing, yeah, we're not going to give you that 3% just here, right? So with that, a high yield savings account, and yes, we have a lot of those that we could recommend to you, will always yield you way more than what the bank is doing. So as I said, become the owner, not the loaner, right?
All right. And Mr. Rubel, we've got a lot of great comments, thanking you for the information, for the golden nuggets, very insightful. So we certainly appreciate your time, and we appreciate you, brothers. We understand that you're investing in yourselves by being here tonight. These last hour and a half, almost 2 hours is an investment in you, that because it takes knowledge to put into action in order to create motion. And when you create that motion, that's when things really start happening for you. So, and you connect with people with like minds who have some experience and can help you pick up momentum in that motion. So, thank you. We also want to pay a special thanks to Brother Jerry Green, the leader of the committee on the curriculum, and who brought Mr. Jothan Rubel to us. We'd like to thank Brother Devin Lucas from Omicron Mu Lambda for setting up the webinar, the Zoom, doing a lot of the behind the scenes logistics. And we just are incredibly blessed to have some amazing brothers working together on this initiative. So we appreciate you. Mr. Jothan Rubel's phone number is there if you'd like to have a conversation with him about some services that he offers. And with that, I'll bid you good night.
Brother,
Oh,
brother,
yes, Brother Green.
Brother Green here from Beta Phi Lambda, Spring 06. Let's not forget Brother Keon Green, who served on the committee, and he put together some great flyers for us and made sure that correspondence got out. Thank you, Brother Rubel, or Mr. Rubel, for putting on such a wonderful presentation. The last slide is probably the one that Brother Ford and I were most concerned about, and we'll bring that slide back up every time. And that one has to do with the net worth, and the brothers should clearly understand how to calculate net worth and how to improve it as we go through the curriculum. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, brothers. And look for the follow-on flyers because we're going to be doing a curriculum financial presentation every month. So stay tuned for with Brother Green and Brother Hudson as they, come together and like work to look at how we're delivering the best curriculum that's going to be most impactful for you. So with that, onward and upward. Have a great night. And panel team, please hang back if you don't mind for just a couple minutes. All right. Thank you, brothers.